what I call the heart cannot be harmed. And it is always open and loving. And so the mind can close down, and our psyche needs attention and protection. Our bodies need attention and protection. But what I'm calling the heart does not. And so in relationships, our mind, our psyche need attention, and I'm calling it protection just to contrast with what I'm saying about the heart. So it's using those words to create just a contrast so that we can see things as different. To highlight that there's something that doesn't need protection, I'm saying the mind needs protection, or a psyche needs protection. But in relationship, having healthy boundaries is a form of taking care of and protecting our mind, our psyche. Not our mind in the sense of our thinking, but the human psyche, for healthy relationships, healthy functioning, and the body as well. That's more easy to understand, but don't need to say too much about it. But we need to protect and feed and have a healthy attention and caring. Same with our minds. Our mind in the broader sense of our psyche, our psychology, our person. That's why I recommend therapy, all kinds of ways in which we can work with our mind. What I'm calling the heart does not. It just cannot be harmed. And it's always open, always loving. And that's what can be recognized, it can be realized. And it's a very freeing thing. Because we think that all of what we are is our psyche. And so when it's threatened, there is a contraction. We can interpret or feel that pain is to the core of us, that something in a very core place, the heart of us, the center of us, is being hurt. And it's not. What's being hurt is not the deepest part of us. And again, I'm drawn to the metaphor of Christ, or using it as a metaphor, and the crucifixion is that the body, the mind, was completely threatened and sacrificed. And we can go through what we are most afraid of and come out on the other side recognizing that something we recognize as discovered, that there's something there that was already there that is completely okay. And I can use some small examples. For example, if you are terrified of an exam and the worst thing you can imagine, and these are the kinds of things we know more from being young. the most horrible thing we can imagine that seems like death, failing an exam or the end of a relationship. And once we go through that, once we fail an exam, we realize, well, I'm actually fine. That which seemed to be the end of my world hasn't ended. And so that's like a very small example, right? It's just an exam, or at the end of a relationship goes a little deeper. But I'm talking about something that is way more deeper than that. Well, I don't mean to use that metaphor as it's okay to sacrifice your body, so I would stop you there. That's why I'm saying it's a metaphor. I'm using it as a matter. In his case, let's say the Bible is a true story and everything happened as it was told. In his case, that his body was sacrificed. But the metaphor is that which we feel is the worst thing that can happen. And at the same time, I have a really strong calling or desire to go in this direction. But we have to check that it's not that we are acting on something that's an unconscious desire of self-destruction, for example. So if you are prone to taking hard drugs, then you might feel like you're called to that, and that's your deepest longing, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that there's a huge disparity between what it actually is with the amount of threat that it feels like. Yeah, and moment by moment, because it moves, it changes. Yes. The more you are truly listening to that, even after it burned. So, for example, you're afraid of relationship. You get into a relationship. You finally develop the courage to be with a person you truly want to be with. Then that doesn't go well. And you go through a level of pain and grief that was unimaginable. Now, if that then later you are called or feel a desire to enter another relationship and you don't, then something got blocked. But the more you're able to keep moving with that desire, in spite of being burned, in spite of things not going well, you start to recognize that at a deeper level something is completely unharmed. And it's what I'm calling the heart. Because it loves life. And that's where I give myself a permission to say it's shared. It's the same heart in in all of us. I would say it's life itself, but it's you as well. And that's why this process of, we can talk a lot about self-inquiry, what am I, who am I? And then I'm talking about what we want, what we truly want. It's the same thing. It's just looking at a thing, one thing, from different perspectives. But what we are is life. Even that is it's not. It's a lot more, but in this context, in this conversation. Yeah, because it's also the source where life emerges. Mm. It's life, it's death, it's the creation, the creator. But it's not, none of these are two. There isn't a creation and a creator. There isn't life and death. There isn't. We can just use the word life in this context. We have a sense that we're somehow separate from that. That we are something that can be alive and not alive. That's an assumption. We have a sense that we are this body and this mind, and limited to that, and it's an assumption. What we are is a lot deeper than that. And it can be known, and not as a, that's the wonder of it. It's not known intellectually. It's not known as a belief system or through being told. That knowing doesn't go very deep. It can be known as in recognized. Seen fully, clearly. And in a sense, it starts by knowing what we're not, to see that we're not what we thought we were.